Say today's film and television. See the world. What I'm going to say today. It's a French love movie, Nostalgia. The story takes place in the mid-19th century. A natural disaster caused silk in a small town. Manufacturing was hit hard. To get the town out of trouble, Harvey, a veteran, accepted silk. The owner's commission: go to Egypt to find high-quality heating. Harvey returned to town 2 weeks later. The residual eggs he brought back solved the urgent need. The homeowner accidentally came into contact with Japanese silk. Learning that Japan is raising silkworms and silk manufacturing are more advanced, so the homeowner entrusted Harvey again. Go to Japan to search for residual eggs. Harvey had just gotten married. He is reluctant to leave his wife. Wife Helen is reasonable. He thinks Harvey can't give up his career because of him. So Harvey said goodbye to his wife, embarked on a journey to Japan. Through thousands of mountains and rivers, Harvey has finally arrived in Japan. Japan was at the end of the shogunate. The ruling class practices a policy of isolation from the country. Therefore, foreign trade can only be carried out in secret. The street man blindfolded Harvey, took him into a village. The most powerful man in the village is called the Haraishi Ice Guard. This person was also a representative of the local aristocracy, home to pristine ice. Harvey meets a beautiful woman. He silently made a pot of tea for Harvey. He never said a word. But Harvey was already obsessed with him. However, this woman is already a concubine of the original ice position. Harvey naturally did not dare to provoke easily. That's all. Harvey returns to town with the first batch of eggs. This batch of eggs quickly generate huge economic benefits. Pavel got a lot of money as a result. He used the money to buy a villa and a large forest next to the villa. He told Helen he wants to transform this forest into flowers. The garden is full of his favorite lily. They're right here in the lily blossoms. Stay together until old age. Her husband's love made Helen very happy. But Helen was diagnosed as infertile. It pained him. Because of infertility, Helen takes great care of the widowed maid's children. Harvey also agreed with his wife's decision. Shortly after, the owner found Harvey again. Considering the tense situation in Japan, it will be difficult to enter Japan in the future. He's going to let Harvey go to Japan, bring back another batch of eggs to lay. So Harvey embarked on a journey to Japan again. This time his eyes were not blindfolded, because people already trust him. Here Harvey, once again, he met the woman who moved his heart. Told by others, he just found out that woman was brought here from a foreign land. He felt more pity for that woman in his heart. Although they never said a word. But I felt the affection between the woman's eyes. However, what puzzled Harvey was the woman put other women pushed into his room. The next day, Harvey tried to find him, only to find that he had been taken away. Harvey returns home with the egg. But I can't forget the woman. He was tormented inside. He was torn as to whether. The wife confessed everything that happened in Japan. Harvey found Mrs. Branch, who was born in Japan. Only then did I learn that there was only one sentence on the note: otherwise I will die. The content of the note made Hoffel feel a sense of urgency. It must be him. The distress left to him by the dreamy woman. Harvey plans to travel to Japan again. Purchase of eggs. In fact, to take a look at the woman. However, Japan was at war at that time. And people intentionally use Turkish eggs replace Japanese eggs. Persistence in defense. The next people will use another batch of Japanese residual eggs uniformly. And Helen didn't stop him. Harvey sets foot on the road to Japan for the third time. When he arrived in the village, But I can't see the woman anymore. A Japanese boy led him to his original position. But he was greeted by a cold machine gun. The boy who led the way was also brutally murdered. Under the threat of death, Harvey chose to step back. Because of the war, this village is no longer able to provide chaos. Harvey traveled all over Japan and finally got a batch of mess. But it also delayed the return journey by a month. When he returned to the town, that batch of chaos has become waste. The small town's silk manufacturing industry is once again in trouble. Many people lost their jobs as a result. To make up for my fault. Also to fulfill the promise to his wife, Harvey called in the unemployed. Spent a lot of money to change the name of that area to a garden. Then the town gradually got out of the predicament. He got his life back on track. But he still couldn't forget that woman. One day, he received a letter with a cover on it. He found Mrs. Branch again. Mrs. Branch translated the letter for him. And it contained a very, very long poem. A poem about healing and lust. It's also a farewell poem. He didn't understand. This was the woman's final goodbye to him. He finally let go of the obsession in his heart. And Helen, I have come to accept the fact that I am infertile. Their lives are peaceful again. But it didn't last. Helen suddenly fell ill. Harvey looked at his wife on the sickbed. Several times I wanted to confess about that woman. But in the end it didn't say it. After 4 months of fighting the disease, Helen still left this world. Until one day, Harvey found a flower in his wife's present. The flower and bran. The last time Mrs. Chi poisoned him. The flowers left for him are of the same variety. Harvey's heart welled up again. He found Mrs. Branch. Under his repeated questioning, Mrs. Branch had to tell him. And it wasn't someone else who wrote that letter. It was his wife Helen. Only then did Harvey understand. Helen had already discovered his anomaly. He couldn't bear for his husband to go through this. He wrote a letter in the tone of that woman. To fulfill his obsession. Let him let go of his obsession. Harvey felt deeply guilty when he learned the truth. He came to the lily garden. The child of that mediocre person has now grown up. He followed Helen's instructions before her death. I have been taking care of this garden with my heart. Harvey invited him to sit on a bench with him. And they told him that deep story. And that was the end of the film. The film is adapted from an Italian writer, Alexander Lord's novel of the same name. It is worth mentioning that this writer is a classic movie. The original author of The Sea Pianist. As a movie based on a novel. Love to the greatest extent. Restore the poetic mood in the original work. The blurred and colorful European pastoral garden is like an oil painting. Quiet and elegant oriental scenery like ink painting. Such a picture structure. It may even make people feel that this is not a torn romance. It's a scenic film. A newly married French man. Traveling through mountains and rivers to the other side of the world. In this locked country. I met a dreamlike woman. No words, no physical love. He had an instinctive crush on him. He crossed the ocean and risked himself. Just to get a glimpse of him. For the male protagonist, exotic women are a secret taboo in his heart. It's an ethereal intention that you can't ask for. A hot spring at the end of the world. And the wife of the waste Bran is where he belongs in this world. It was warmth that was within his grasp. It is a garden deep in the country. He is like a child, innocent nostalgia for the hot spring at the end of the world. I didn't understand until the end. What I really love is actually the garden by my side. Kayla Neckley as Helen. Renowned as a model of European classical actress beauty. But he plays Helen. But with the wisdom of an Oriental woman. Facing her husband's several long trips, he acted reasonable. Even comforted her husband. A good man is interested in all directions. But when the husband goes out for longer and longer, his first thoughts gradually turned into worrying and fear. So he desperately wanted to conceive his child. That's why he has to come back. However, such a wish failed. He is unfortunate, but also lucky. Her husband's love for him has always been generous and meticulous. He gave him a garden. He thought they were going to grow old here. But his keen intuition told him he has someone else in his heart. His inner world must be surging through the monstrous waves. But in the end it became understanding and fulfillment. He fulfilled him with a love poem. It also proves that the one he really loved was always him. Eileen Chong is here. The sentence is written in red roses and white roses. Perhaps every man. There have been 2 women like this. At least 2. Married a red rose. Over time, the red one becomes a smear of mosquito ringworm on the wall. White or bright moonlight in front of the bed. Took white roses. The white one is a rice hairpin on the clothes. The red one is a cinnabar mole on the heart. And that's a wonderful summation of nostalgia. It is also the emotion of many people, a true portrayal of the growth process. Okay, this movie will be shared here. Welcome to leave a message in the comment area to express your views. Like us, please pay attention to forwarding. See you next time.